Hey everybody, my name is Paul Lesden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live simultaneously right now, late, very late, on a Wednesday night, September 7th. Before I'm sure the end of this video will be officially in September 8th, which will be game day, the official kickoff of the 2022 NFL season with the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams, which should be pretty cool. Of course, we're going to set you guys up for New York Jets, Baltimore Ravens, an episode of the Jet Zone podcast here. And feel free, guys, if you'd like to get involved in the comments. Again, we're streaming live simultaneously, 3 places. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page. Shout out to all the 20,000 plus Jet fans that'll be tuning in to tonight's show. How you doing? YouTube.com/BoyGreen25. And make sure you do a favor. Give a like to the video and hit subscribe down below for more New York Jets content on the YouTube channel. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at BoyGreen25. There's a few things to get to, and I really need to get a lot of things off my chest here. I know we've had a lot of time to process the comments of one New York Jets head coach, Robert Saleh, who earlier today lived up to the billing. He said that he was going to give us an update on the Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco situation, and update he gave. Robert Saleh. And actually, you know what? Why don't we just play the clip? I could just tell you what's going to happen here. So, but of course, we could just play the clip. So I'm going to play what Robert Saleh said to the media earlier today, and I'm going to explain why I had an issue with the New York Jets. And also, I want to clarify a handful of items. But first, why don't we do this? We're going to play the clip. This is Robert Saleh earlier today, and I will set up the context of this for people who did not see the clip. And Robert Saleh, after the third Zach Wilson question, we're going to throw it up on the big screen here. You're going to hear the full clip. Robert Saleh was asked a third Zach Wilson question in a row to start the press conference. And to me, you can make your own judgments based on this clip. Robert Saleh came off flippant to me, somewhat annoyed by the multiple Zach Wilson questions. And let's just play the rest of the clip. Here, Robert Saleh earlier today on the Zach Wilson news.
Now, is it a week-to-week decision now?
No, I'm to be honest with you guys, and I'm just going to lay this out. So I really don't want to talk about the situation anymore. So we're the earliest he's going to be available is Pittsburgh. That's going to be the earliest. And just from everything we gathered over the last couple of days, now can it change? Sure, I'm always going to leave that door open. You guys know me; I'm the eternal optimist. But we are going to make sure that both mind and body are 110%. Make sure we do right by him, and we feel like, talking to the doctors and everyone, it's going to be that Pittsburgh week.
Now, I want to make this clear to everyone that's listening in the room that the basis of what the New York Jets decision is, of making sure Zach Wilson is 100% in mind, body, and spirit, is correct. That is the correct thing to do. You don't want to rush Zach Wilson out there early. Now, I want to make that perfectly clear at the beginning of this show, and this is an interactive show, so you guys can feel free to jump into the comments wherever you're watching, and we will bring you here on the show and answer any of your comments or points. But I want to get a few things off my chest here before we get this party going. That, again, the basis of what Robert Saleh is saying, that we will not play Zach Wilson until he's healthy, is the correct move. Again, you don't want to rush Zach Wilson back again. It's about the long term, not the short term. However, the thing that I think a lot of Jet fans are frustrated with, and what really is the precipice of this video, quite frankly, is the Jets' inability to communicate. That, to me, is the biggest issue with everything that transpired today, and quite frankly, it's been a problem in this regime with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. I'm going to bring you back to last year. We're going to go to the Mekhi Becton situation. We all know what happened. Week 1, Mekhi Becton goes down in a crumpled heap. He's clutching at his leg. He's screaming to the heavens. We're like, oh, boy. Most Jet fans look at that, and the card came out that he's done for the year. Oh, boy. That doesn't look great. Robert Saleh gives us an optimistic outlook and says, hey, actually, it's not season ending. 6 to 8 weeks. We'll see you there for Mekhi Becton. A lot of us are like, wow, Mekhi Becton. Okay, 6 to 8 weeks. Sounds great. Again, the Jets control the narrative. They could have told us whatever they want. They could have said, it's not looking good, but we're not sure. We'll keep you posted. But they were specific, saying it was a 6 to 8 week timeline for Mekhi Becton's return. As we all know, he never played another snap in the 2021 season. So that's one example of the New York Jets pushing out a timeline. They didn't have to. They pushed out a timeline to all of us saying 6 to 8 weeks. We'll see you then, Becton. And of course, We never saw Becton again. Let's go to this one. Zach Wilson gets hurt, non-contact injury. Again, we all think that this is, oh boy, this is not good. This time, Robert Saleh does not give any optimistic review. He just says, hey, we got to wait to see what the doctors say. Doctors come out. Long story short, Jets say, we dodged a bullet. 2 to 4 weeks is what the New York Jets came out and said. And by the way, that injury came out when the Jets were about 4.5 weeks to the season. So again, injury, 2 to 4 weeks. They were 4.5 weeks out before week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. That, again, once again, is a narrative the New York Jets pushed out. Not anyone else. The New York Jets. Now we get to this week. And before the decision that came earlier today here on Wednesday, September 7th, Robert Saleh went on the Michael Kay show, and he continued to say that there was a possibility that Zach Wilson could play in week 1. Putting us on the edge of our seat, and apparently some gamesmanship with the Baltimore Ravens. Here's why I don't think it was just gamesmanship, and why I think it's BS. If it was gamesmanship, why would Robert Saleh volunteer this information on Wednesday? If it was really about gamesmanship and really about pushing the Baltimore Ravens, like, oh boy, they're on pins and needles, will be Joe Flacco or Zach Wilson, that he would have waited till Sunday. He wouldn't have revealed that information right now on a Wednesday. That wouldn't have happened. So it wasn't about that. And not only did we get the information that Zach Wilson will not be playing on Sunday versus the Ravens, oh yeah, he's not going to be available to week 4. The point of frustration for Jet fans, and for me personally, that led me to this video, is the Jets hinted that Zach Wilson could be available for week 1. And how did we go from week 1, maybe, to all of a sudden, week 4 at the earliest? Where's the communication here? What did we miss? That is no longer about gamesmanship. That is about the Jets lifting up the Jet fans and saying, hey, he could be there. And then, oh, wait, he won't be. And also the other confusing aspect of all of this is Robert Saleh said there was no setback with Zach Wilson. 0. No setback. So how is he almost ready to play week 1? There was no setback. And now all of a sudden, the earliest he could play is week 4. That's what I'm confused at. And again, I don't want to get this mixed up. Zach Wilson should be healthy before he goes out there, and Joe Flacco is a more capable backup quarterback than the Jets have had in a long time. The Jets blew this, and it's their fault that the Jet fans are upset because we have been reacting to their timeline. If they would have given us a great timeline on Zach Wilson, we're not sure. Week to week, no idea. That would still give the gamesmanship aspect to the Ravens. We're not sure whether he's going to play or not. But they gave us these timelines. They went out of their way to provide these timelines for Jet fans. That's why they screwed the pooch. That's why Jet fans are up in arms today. It's not about whether Zach Wilson was going to play in week 1. Because you know what? For whatever you believe, whether you believe Zach Wilson was truly had any chance of playing week 1 or not, it wasn't even about that. That's not what it was about. It was the jumping, moving field goal post that happened with the Mekhi Becton injury, 6 to 8 weeks. He never played another snap. This Zach Wilson thing, maybe week 1. Oh, snap, maybe week 4. That's the thing that is frustrating. And this is why, quite frankly, I think the Jets blew it in every aspect. Now, ultimately, Zach Wilson playing when he's fully healthy is the correct decision, and that's what should happen. But the New York Jets are the ones that continue to make a real root of the issue here, is that it's a self-inflicted wound. They have no one to blame but themselves. That's the frustrating part for me, is that, again, they being the Jets, should never give an injury timeline ever again because they continue to blow it. The Mekhi Becton one, we just talked about. The Zach Wilson one, we just talked about. Again, these are timelines they put out themselves. And to me, it's no longer about gamesmanship. And I just want to know what the hell's going on. And I think a lot of us just want to know what the heck is going on here. What changed? Apparently nothing changed, but it all changed. That's, to me, has resulted in what is a social media outburst of, and I wrote an article for heavy.com talking about several of them. One fan called the team bleeping liars. That I'm looking in front of me. I'm going through some of the tweets in front of us. We had, that was yesterday. He said possibly start the opener yesterday. Man losing integrity, Charles on Twitter. I don't know if I want to go that far, but you get the point. And Johnny on Twitter, it's like they go out of their way to look dysfunctional. Nobody really thought he was playing this week, so why did he say that? Now he's not playing this month? A thought here. And I will bring up this one. I'll also throw this one up on the screen because I believe ultimately, in my opinion, this is the one that really revs the engine and I think really explains everything. So I'm going to give a shout out to sports_fiend who tweeted this one out. It's also part of my story. You can see it on the screen here. He's responding to my initial tweet. Not going to lie, this is very confusing. This is about the Zach Wilson situation. I think that this news makes me feel that this timeline is not true. I think Wilson could come back by week 3, but Saleh should not comment on injury timelines anymore. It's just very bad optics. Like him and the staff don't really know what's going on, because it seems like, as I take that off the screen, it seems like when Robert Saleh comes out and says, maybe this, and then, oh, wait, it's this, it just sounds like that he's not plugged in any way. And maybe some people will say, coach speak, he's just playing the game with the media. I don't know what the benefit is of jerking your fan base around. And that's what's happening when these made up timelines get out and Jet fans set expectations based on the timelines that the Jets put out. And then they just yank them around and make up new timelines. Then don't say any timelines. I think ultimately that is it. And again, I just think that it's a little bit crazy. Because, again, Jet fans are the lifeblood of this organization, and that's what they make everything go from that perspective. So we're going to get a lot of comments in here, and I'm seeing them fly in left and right here that, I just – the thing I love, and I'll reiterate that before we jump into any of the comments, that, again, Zach Wilson's health is paramount. Now, it is concerning. And here's one more thing I do want to mention, that the Jets have not won a September game since 2018. They're currently on an 0-12 streak in the month of September since their last win. That was the Sam Darnold rookie week 1 win. Besides that, they've lost 12 straight dating back to 2018 in the month of September. And now, if we're to believe the current timeline of when Zach Wilson, they will have to rely on the Joe Flacco, because the first 3 weeks of the season that Zach Wilson's apparently out for, Joe Flacco will be the starter in those 3 games. And that 4th game that Zach Wilson may be able to come back for Sunday, October 2nd. So if they're going to end this embarrassing drought for Zach Wilson, it's going to have to come with Joe Flacco potentially winning a September game. And hey, there's a lot of Jet fans out there that believe that Zach Wilson stinks and that a veteran quarterback will be able to move talent and move things all over the place. And maybe that's true. Well, we will find out. Remember, Robert Saleh over a month ago said emphatically that Joe Flacco is a starting quarterback in the NFL. We're about to find out if that's true. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's try to go through some of these. All right, let's go to this one. Mr. Bonesy, this was planned from the start. They didn't want to give Baltimore the jump. Did you hear Zach Wilson today? He got caught twice screwing up his words. He basically said he knew the timetable after the surgery. I will say this, and I will admit this. Normally, before we do any live stream, I like to hear the most up-to-date information, both with the radio schedule and also our big fantasy draft. I have not seen the Zach Wilson presser. I will see that after. So shame on me for not being able to watch that before you jump on the live stream here. So I'll double check the jumping on words. But again, the thing that I'm kind of missing here is Robert Saleh seemingly went out of his way to hype up things for no reason. I'm not just talking about the Baltimore game, because again, going from potentially week 1 to week 4, where's the benefit there? And again, if it was gamesmanship, why would he do a public statement today about who's going to start at quarterback? Again, if gamesmanship was the number one thing for the Jets and they really want to throw off the Ravens, even for a hint of like, is it going to be Joe Flacco or Zach Wilson? Why wouldn't you wait till game day then? Why would you reveal it on a Wednesday? That's the thing I don't get, and that's why the gamesmanship thing excuse flies completely out of the window for me. It makes no sense, because if it was gamesmanship, you would literally drag it as far as you could. Why would you admit it ahead of time? That's the part, quite frankly, that confuses me. It's Snoopy. This pisses me off, I'm not going to lie, like Saleh did. Again, I just don't understand really what's happening there. That part is confusing. And again, the jerking around the fan base doesn't make any sense. Why get fans' hopes up for no reason? Again, if you simply said week to week, and again, that could still mean he could play against Baltimore. Who knows what that could mean? But when you give that false timeline, and then Jet fans noticeably are upset because they don't know what's really happening with the team. It seems like Saleh doesn't either when those things happen. Boomtown 89ers, mind and body makes no sense. Yes, it was an interesting pivot for Robert Saleh. If you guys watched the Robert Saleh press conference, is that part of the reason Robert Saleh believes that Zach Wilson will not be able to play to week 4 is not just getting himself right physically, which he said that he's in great shape, no limp, blah, 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 good workouts, all that. But he said he needs to get his mind and body right. It was just kind of an interesting pivot. And there was no setback, which is, again, the other thing that failed to communicate on purpose. Well, people can call it whatever they want. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Yes, I think this is another good one from Boomtown 89ers. Being straight lied to is super disrespectful, as there was 0 point in misleading the situation. That's really my thing, is that there didn't seem to be any real rationale for the jerking around. Initially with Mekhi Becton, right? Did that throw off teams whether or not Mekhi Becton was going to play or not going to play? Of course not. So the 6 to 8 week timeline that they ended up screwing up made absolutely no sense. So again, with this one, maybe it's a little different with quarterback. Again, that's just something that seems puzzling. All right, let's go to Jay Leno here. Flacco's going to show up. I believe he's going to perform very well. He is a veteran quarterback. I think there is a high floor with Joe Flacco. This is not the days of Luke Falk, David Fales, and all these other crappy Trevor Siemian, crappy excuses for quarterbacks that simply couldn't move the ball. There's talent on this team, and some people believe that maybe a true, proven veteran quarterback in this situation where you don't have to guess and gamble with a Zach Wilson, maybe they could perform very well. Ultimately, we'll see. Some tough opponents, obviously, with the AFC North, but I don't think these are impossible contests, including the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, personally. Let's see. Keep going through here. Jay Leno, if you ain't a Jets fan, kick rocks off the live for real. Yeah, I know we get a lot of people that come in here of all fanships, regardless of your fandom. That's fine. Although the one thing I would say for fans is that, again, to me, you got to be in with teams through thick and thin, and that you can't just bail. And again, if that was going to be your rationale, I imagine you bailed a long time ago on the Jets because they haven't been good in a long time. One winning season lasts 11 years, and that's the last time they were in the playoffs. Let's see. Trying to keep all the comments coming. We'll bring you up on the show. I'm trying to filter some of these. Let's go to Mr. Bonesy. Today practice starts. How could he keep it a secret when Zach is still on the side? Mr. Bonesy, believe it or not, actually, the media is not allowed to watch the full practice. It's only partial practice. So if the Jets wanted to allow this ruse to continue while the media was watching, they could include certain things to make it seem like that either guy could start. And then when the media is ushered away, they can then go back to normal. So that is totally possible there. Let's see. Oh, let's go to this one. William J. Leonard, put your big boy pants on and move forward. You sound like a crybaby. Every Jet fans are trying to shake. Change the subject. Well, William, this is the subject of the day. And the subject of the day is the quarterback situation. Now, the big boy pants, quote unquote, will be put on with Joe Flacco. I'll be there week 1. I'm looking forward to it. MetLife Stadium. I'm not going anywhere. Joe Flacco, Chris Streveler, Mike White. I don't give a flying hoot who's playing quarterback. I'm going to go support the team, watch the team, and enjoy the game. But I will tell you this, that, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. However, I just feel like the Jets did it for no reason. If there was rationale for the decision, maybe it'd be a little easier to swallow. It seemed like not, and then it just makes them look silly. Let's see. And again, Mr. Bund, I want to make this clear that, again, it's not about week 1. There was a more than likely chance that Zach Wilson, despite any optimism that Saleh showed, that he wasn't going to play in week 1. To me, it's not about week 1. To me, honestly, if Joe Flacco wouldn't have started in week 1, I would have been surprised. The big thing is, how did it go from week 1 to week 4? How? If there was no setback, that's the biggest thing that we're griping about here, and the biggest confusing part, because there's no communication from the organization on this topic, and thus fans are upset. That's the big thing for me, and makes no sense, and it's hard to swallow. Okay. Let's see. Right. It's Snoopy. Zach's been dealing with injuries since college and knee since last season. This will not get better. New QB 2023. I will see Chris Mortensen tweeted this out, and it's interesting. I hadn't thought to compare Zach Wilson to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, a former number 1 overall pick. That was the same draft class, of course, the Jets got. The one and only Mark Sanchez, of course. And I don't have the full stat in front of me, but Chris Mortensen said something to the effect that Matthew Stafford missed 13 games in his first 2 seasons, and they never missed another snap for like 8 years or something. And the Jets are hoping for something similar now. I bet they're hoping and praying for something similar. There's no correlation between the quarterbacks, but it just goes to show that someone can be, quote unquote, injured, and then the narrative changes. Another good example, I just was at my fantasy draft tonight, and by the way, I will take that off the screen so you guys can see the official team name. I'll tweet this out tomorrow as well. Florham Park Stranglers. That's a new shirt. I make a custom shirt every year for fantasy, and it's a New York Jets connection. Here you go. Let you guys take a gander. Florham Park Strangler. Of course, that is an ode, a tip of the cap to Robert Saleh's nickname for Jamie and Sherwood. He calls it Florham Park Strangler. Of course, Florham Park, New York, for the New York Jets. And then the Strangler part is he has gangly arms, and he's kind of like this alien predator thing as a linebacker. So I have that, and then the Boy Green 2-5 in the back. So every year, it is a Jets-related fantasy football team name. So that's great. But with that being said, by the way, the comparison was to Matthew Stafford and saying that injuries can happen and then change. Again, the fantasy example I was going to bring up is Christian McCaffrey. Up until right before the contract extension he signed, he had never missed a practice or a game in his life. 2 years in a row, he gets injured. Maybe he bounces back this year. I don't know. But it just goes to show you about injuries and things you never know. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Bonesy again. Sure. We're such over panicking fans, overreacting to everything. Guys, do you think we're the first team to be dishonest about injuries? No, I don't think we're the first team or the last team, but, this is a Jets podcast that talks about the New York Jets. So when these things come up, we talk about them. I mean, that's it is what it is. So no, I'm not saying we're the first team, last team, or anything in particular, but it's just a little bit frustrating, and I think that's an honest thing to say, that there was some expectation. And here's the other thing, and this is a perfect time to mix it in. The Jets haven't had a quarterback start a full season. I wonder if any of you even know the answer to this, but the Jets haven't had a quarterback start a full season since Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2015. Ryan Fitzpatrick started every game that season. Now, against the Raiders, he started it. It was knocked out in the middle of the game, and Geno Smith came in, but he still got the start. So even that one, you could even squint at. So the Jets have been dealing with quarterback injuries every year since that point, from a start-to-start basis of getting quarterbacks in. And the only thing I want to say, as I'm like kind of speaking to the gods, I'm speaking to the great ethos here. As I take this off the screen real quick, why can't we have nice things? There are teams around the league that have had quarterbacks that have just been these stalwarts, and of course they start every game. That's assumed. Josh Allen, for the most part. Peyton Manning. And I know I'm just bringing random examples, but teams that have never, like, of course, our quarterback's healthy. But for Jet fans, it's the opposite. We have to assume they're never healthy. So Zach Wilson at this point is going to miss a minimum of 3 games. He missed 4 games last year. Like, man. So in 2 years, at a minimum, right now, he's going to miss 7 games. How can you properly evaluate a quarterback with that? And then we're in the same crap next year. That, I'm going to be honest, and I'm an optimist, by the way, so I want to make that clear, is that Zach Wilson is going to have rust. He's not just going to come back in week 4, let's just say, against Pittsburgh, and just light the world on fire. There's going to be some sort of acclimation period necessary to get him back in the groove of things, because he missed all the preseason games outside the Eagles, all those joint practices, all those reps, and then he's going to miss more reps inevitably with this recovery and rehab and everything. It just makes you think, like, come on, man. The Jets can never have nice things. No matter how great Joe Flacco looks. And again, that's good for the rest of the offense. Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios, Breece Hall, all the young guys that you could get an actual legitimate look at because they're going to get those reps with a capable quarterback are great. But this season is about trying to win football games, obviously, and win meaningful games in December. That's the Jets message they keep sending out. But it's about evaluating Zach Wilson, seeing if he's the guy. It's harder to find out if he's the guy if he's not on the field. So brutal stuff there. It's just tough. Let's keep it going. Okay. Saleh is over his head. Terrible liar. Wow, we're getting a lot of fiery stuff here. MM Morris, can't wait for Sack to leave, Saleh to get fired, JD moves on. It's what we deserve. I don't know if that's true. I think Jet fans have been, working as hard as they can. Let's keep it going. Brian Farrell, Joe Flacco's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Can you imagine? I mean, it's similarly set up to that 2015 season in which there's a lot of talent. And in theory, if Joe Flacco has anything in the tank, the team is pretty talented. The defense is talented. The offense is talented. Again, you're going to have to prove it on the football field, but there is morsels there. And we'll see. Joe Flacco has not had a lot of success. And also, I think the thing that makes a lot of Jet fans nervous is that Giants game and the joint practice. Now, it's a limited sample size, but the joint practice, Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, threw a lot of exotic blitz at Joe Flacco, and he did not respond very well. And then, of course, the Giants game where he was forced out of the pocket, not really his strength, obviously, at this point in his career or any point of his career. And then he throws the pick six to the Giants, an ugly pick. So there are those Joe Flacco things that make you go, blech, which can always get you, but maybe the talent is certainly there. Let's keep it going. Let's see. Hey, there you go. Sup, brother? It's Gino Italy Jet. Welcome to the program, everybody. Again, this is an interactive show, so feel free to comment. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Also, make sure you like the video and hit subscribe on YouTube for all kinds of great content. We had a lot of great interviews this week. Antoine Staley of the New York Daily News. Kevin Ostreicher, who covers Baltimore Ravens for Locked On Ravens podcast and the Ravens Wire. That is all up on the YouTube channel. If you guys would like a full preview of the Jets-Ravens game, feel free. Matt Rubenstein is a Mike White truther. Well, now it's 4 weeks. It really should be Mike White. I'll tell you this. This from Connor Hughes on his latest show. The Jets fans are higher on Mike White than the organization is. They believe, this is a quote from Connor Hughes, they believe that there's a dramatic gap between Flacco and White. So I do not believe we see any White for that matter. Okay. Let's keep going. Stephen Pollock, hey, Paul, I'm tired of this regime constantly saying one thing and doing another. It's got to stop. No question about it. Again, you got to build up trust and whatnot with your fan base, or at the very least, say nothing then. Don't say things that are untrue. Just say nothing. Again, be blah. Bill Belichick is blah all the time. They'll ask him about an injury. We'll see on Sunday. And then there's no false set of expectations. So I think we reacted harshly to the Mekhi Becton story because we were told it was 6 to 8 weeks. So that was our expectation. When it wasn't, we went, oh, something must have went wrong. Zach Wilson, again, 2 to 4 weeks. Well, okay, sounds good. It sounds like season opener is possible. And if not, week 2 at worst, he's going to be back. And then it's week 4. That's the thing that is frustrating about all of this. And I can't reiterate that enough. Okay. We're getting a lot of comments here. Gino Italy, I will be there on Sunday. Again, for those who don't know, I'll be partying in lot J14 with the Middle Initial podcast. We're going to have Kerry Rhodes, former Jet. He's supposed to swing by. I'm going to be there. We have Antoine Staley of the New York Daily News. There will be food, liquor, merch giveaways and things. I believe they sold out of tickets. So you'll have to get creative to get in there. It's supposed to be a roped off lot J14, but we're supposed to have some celebrities and it should be a lot of fun. So hopefully I get to meet a lot of you guys. For those who don't know, again, my name is Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, which means that fancy title. I write articles every day for Heavy on Jets, covering the team, opinion pieces, angles, news, and all that fun stuff. So you can check it out, Heavy on Jets. And hopefully I can meet a lot of you fans that comment on our articles every day. It would be great to meet you guys. Let's see. Ragnar Jet. Would be amazing if we go 3-1 or even 2-2. I mean, it would be great. It would be great to see. Again, we have not had a win in September since 2018. That was the first week of the season opener. So it would be nice. The thing I will say, though, and I'll enjoy it if Joe Flacco goes out and beats the Ravens, which, by the way, I think they have a legitimate chance to and still predict that they will. My official prediction was 28-26 Jets, even with the Joe Flacco news. I believe they can win that game, and I don't think it's impossible. And there are challenges, of course, because the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender and everything else. But, excuse me, I think there is this weirdness to the 3-1, 2-2 start. I'm not rooting against it. Again, wins are great, but the season's about Zach, and that Joe Flacco doing it is great. But at the end of the day, he's 37, so there's no future with Joe Flacco. He's on the last year of his deal. He could retire any year. Like, you want to see Zach Wilson doing those kind of things, and unfortunately, we're robbed that we can't see that, at least for the foreseeable future. So that one's tough. Jet Central, one of the great YouTube, again, bow down to him. Jet Central, one of the great Jets YouTube content creators. Make sure you subscribe to my buddy Jet Central on the Zach Wilson situation, everything else for that matter. He's the best in the business. No question about it. He is a system guy. I like Jet Central. He is a system guy. No, wow, comments are pouring in crazy. Okay, we'll try to get to all these, but Jet Central, thank you. Let's see. Let me keep going here, guys. Keep them going. Christopher. Yeah, I will say that the reason for the delay on Zach Wilson does not appear to be the meniscus, which again, he had meniscus surgery and it was a meniscus trim. So he just, took a little off the top, like a haircut almost. But from what I heard from doctors even way back when, that the big thing you have to pay attention to with the Zach Wilson injury is the bone bruise. That's the thing. If you rush back, you can linger. Again, I'm not a doctor, just from what doctor people told me when I asked them about the bone bruise and what it can mean and why you can't rush that part of it back. However, again, then they should have changed or not given any timeline. I think that would have put us all in a better position. Okay. Matt Rubenstein. Will New York media type in the press pool have the nerve to press a point on why not commit to evaluating Mike White over this span? Because I think it's pretty clear, Matt, that it's not about evaluation. We're at the beginning of a season. Everyone's undefeated at 0-0. It's not about evaluation. At this point, it's about trying to win football games. And they believe, the Jets, whether or not you believe it, that Joe Flacco gives them the best chance to win football games. So we're not going to – the evaluation stage would somehow come at that point with Joe Flacco 37 last year's deal, Mike White also last year's deal. If somehow they're at the end of the season and they're not doing very well, which again, we've seen enough of those years, then maybe we're talking evaluation of Mike White. That does not come in week one, in my opinion, outside of injury. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep it going here. Wow, we got a lot of people just arguing with each other, which is always great. Wow, this is there's a viral battle going on between all you guys. Let's see. Okay, Chrono, Kenny, the boy Green, you betcha. We are here. Mike Cohen, PBG, how many 37-year-olds are playing super high level? Stafford, Rodgers, Ryan, Brady, Freak? Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, Rodgers, you mentioned Stafford, obviously. Matt Ryan, I think, will play very well in Indianapolis. Tom Brady's played well. I'm just trying to think of quarterbacks off the top of my head that are older, that have played well. Peyton Manning played well before the Broncos year. Brett Favre had the Vikings year, which was good. So both past and present. And the other thing with Joe Flacco that I think, he's been essentially cryogenically frozen the last couple of years. He's been in an exclusive reserve role since his Baltimore days, which was like 4 or 5 years ago. And that was before the Lamar Jackson switch. So, the age is just a number from that perspective. It seems like he has all the zip, all the arm power that he had previously. It's just going to be upstairs in the brain. The good news is he's seen so much that should help, and obviously he's intimately familiar with the Ravens, so I think he should be able to make some things happen. Matthias, this is discouraging. That's all I know. Yeah, that's just kind of the way I look at it. Again, the season's not over. It hasn't even started yet. It's week one. I am immensely excited. I want to make that clear. I'm immensely excited for week one. I think the Jets can beat the Ravens and I think make a real statement. Then you head into week two. Again, you have Joe Flacco, so you have to consider your own quarterback situation where you're playing against Jacoby Brissett. Man, that seems winnable. Then you head to week three against a team you've already beaten. Now they're really good. They were just in the Super Bowl, but I don't know. To me, I think you can more than survive this stretch against AFC North. A lot of Jet fans have assumed, and for us, I need a Marks. We wrote a column about it. We posted it on social media. Anita Marks believes she would not be surprised if the Jets started 0-9. That's the same thing Brady Quinn said earlier this offseason, looking at the schedule, and that's fine. People can have takes. Everyone has opinions, and I love this show because we can highlight and provide a platform for other opinions. Mine's not the end all be all. People are already disagreeing, as I've seen in here, and as my day job as a sports talk radio host, I get disagreed with on a daily basis. So we're all here. Okay. Let's keep going here. Oh, that's an interesting one. Hypno Toad. We can't have nice things because we draft bad things. There may be a correlation there. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, they have not done a very good job. Let's see. Boycott Activision. This will be a great season. We have baby Mahomes, baby Diggs, baby Tyreek Hill, baby Ramsey, and baby Jonathan Taylor. Wouldn't that be nice? But it is interesting. Robert Saleh kind of mentioned that at his press conference that they don't have any household names yet, but he believes that they're there. And essentially, he's been using this line over and over about the Seattle Seahawks of old Cam Chancellor, Russell Wilson, all these guys. No one knew who they were till they knew who they were. In other words, stacking these days together of like Elijah Moore, let's say pops against Baltimore. You're kind of like, okay, the Elijah Moore guy looks okay. They pops again. And they just assume that he's going to pop because he's good. So they do have to develop that reputation to make some things happen. Back to Matthias. This is season 2 with injuries. We could be in big trouble. Yeah, Mekhi Becton obviously out for the season. Zach Wilson. Again, if this continues to linger, if this is the Mekhi Becton thing where you throw out a timeline of 6 to 8 weeks and it keeps dragging, yeah, I mean, that would be super underwhelming. And again, it just speaks to this on paper prior to all the Zach Wilson stuff has been the most exciting Jets offseason in some time with legitimate hope that things can happen. Then, of course, Zach Wilson gets hurt. And once again, you're getting a backup quarterback for several weeks of your season. It just sucks. Even though Joe Flacco is better than a lot of the backup quarterbacks that Jets have had in recent lore, it just sucks. Let's keep it going. Let's see. Let's keep it going here. Let's go. Steve J. I mean, think about it. Jets ain't making the playoffs. So they got nothing to lose. Let them learn from Flacco and see what happens. I'm not willing to put any labels, quite frankly. Some people may find that crazy. You know, I'm not willing to put labels on this team or restrictions saying, there's no way they make the playoffs or this. Again, it's more difficult without having Zach Wilson who could have worked through some things. And maybe Joe Flacco's a better quarterback right now. Who knows? I guess we're going to find out when we're playing some games here. But yeah, the Jets could still make some things happen, which I would find really interesting. Let's just get into generic questions. Again, this stream kind of started with the basis and foundation of the Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco news. But guys, if you have Jets questions in general that you'd like to debate, discuss, talk about, we can do that here, including this from Christopher on YouTube. Is Dwayne Brown hurt? Yeah, Dwayne Brown, I believe it was the shoulder, if I read that correctly on our old injury report, did not practice today. And obviously that's not ideal for a guy that had, I think, 22 reps. Dwayne Brown and the rest of the starting offensive line together in the preseason, which was limited, obviously, because Brown came so late to the table. Yeah, that's not ideal. And then, obviously, the George Fant being limited as he has been with the knee injury initially way back when. So, yeah, he is hurt, but, no guy is going to be 100% heading into a season. But it is concerning that he did not play because, again, and we've talked about this throughout the offseason and why it's been paramount to me that the Jets need a proven offensive tackle. Right now, they don't have one. They have Connor McDermott, but he's not good. Max Mitchell is a completely unproven fourth rounder, so they really don't have an answer. Remember, they were sniffing around Dwayne Brown prior to Mekhi Becton getting hurt. It should be a paramount priority. Again, there's guys that are still out there, Eric Fisher, Darrell Williams, whoever, and I am very concerned about the depth at offensive tackle on this team. One injury, and poof, this whole house of cards could fall. Let's go to Brennan here on Facebook. I believe that Zach Wilson could be the guy. Just hope he gets a chance and can stay healthy to show it. I think this Jets front office is as invested as you can be in the guy. Robert Saleh said multiple times this week that Zach Wilson is, quote unquote, the future. And he is, and we will see. Again, if the Jets completely implode and have some 1, 2, 3, 4 win season, it's hard to believe seeing this entire regime coming back in full flower to even explore what that other Zach Wilson season will look like. So a lot to be decided this season, I think, for sure. Tommy John, Joe Flacco is Vinny Testaverde, an old strong arm statue in the pocket, but could still get the job done. Yeah, I remember Vinny coming out of retirement and a couple of those magical seasons in the mid to early 2000s. Again, he's a dude. And Joe Flacco has no mobility whatsoever, obviously. So that's something you're going to lose. That obviously is a strength of Zach Wilson's, his ability to get out of the pocket and make things happen. But hey, a Vinny Testaverde comparison is not bad. Let's see. Sergeant Mike, Rex Ryan would love this situation. Experienced quarterback in a much improved defense and play ground and pound with blitzes, create turnovers, and play his old team that bypassed him and gave head coach to Harbaugh. 100%. There is a lot of material in this game. I'll give another shout out to Morgan Moses, who's now in Baltimore. CJ Mosley, a former Raven as well. Joe Douglas, of course, spent 20 years with the Baltimore Ravens as well. So there's a lot of connective tissue here, obviously, and Joe Flacco, obviously, as well. To be kind of thrown in there. And Morgan Moses went out of his way to give a lot of praise. You know what? That's another clip worth playing that went viral earlier today. Tweeted that out this morning, and that is currently up to 28,000 views, and for good reason. Here's a quick clip from Morgan Moses. He was asked about facing the Jets for the first time after being with the organization last season, and he gave a weird dig to Washington, which we could talk about as well, but some great words here from Morgan Moses. Let's play this.
One thing I know, they're going to come out there with a lot of energy. They did a great job of flipping that roster. Even being there last year, you can feel that it was different. And especially for me, it kind of gave me my first taste of what football really means. Coming from Washington and things like that. But it's been great, man. Those guys. I know Coach Saleh, man. He's going to have those guys on 100, man, running around, fast football, pursuing. And then you can't take it for granted, man. We're playing on 9/11 in New York, so it means a little bit more to them to get that win. So we know where they're going to come out swinging, and it's our job to stand at the plate and bat it out. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game, and looking forward to going out there and going out there as a Raven.
And I just have to say that I love Morgan Moses. What an addition he was last season for the New York Jets. And I know a lot of people have said since that clip kind of went viral this morning that Jet fans saying, man, I wish we would have re-signed Morgan Moses. And I just am here to reiterate that it takes two to tango, people. The Jets could not guarantee Morgan Moses a starting job or, quite frankly, even a path to a starting job. And so he went elsewhere. And he ended up signing a 3-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens for $15 million. And he is a starter. So with the Jets, Mekhi Becton wasn't injured yet. George Fant was coming back. There was no clear path. So, again, it's one of those that Jet fans will often say, like, oh, man, wish he would have stayed. And same thing with, like, Teddy Bridgewater. The Jet fans said, oh, man, he should have been the franchise, not Sam Darnold. Like, again, Teddy Bridgewater would have never re-signed knowing Sam Darnold is here, so the Jets end up trading him away. That's one of those, again, one of those lures of things that people talk about, but they aren't really there from that perspective. But, again, major shout-out to Morgan Moses. And, again, it's cool when he was here last year, and I tweeted this under that video, is that when he was here saying nice things, it makes sense. He's employed by the Jets. It behooves him to say nice things from that perspective. However, when he's in another organization, as he is with Baltimore, he doesn't have to say nice things anymore. He could have said, there was all hoopla and just answer the status quo, but he's gone out of his way to hype up the Jets, saying, you know what, Robert Saleh's got these guys. They could shock some people. They can make some noise. It's really cool to hear that from players like that. And again, the potential of, the culture changing. But again, the real culture changes with wins, of course. Let's see. AC. Michael Bone Bruiser Clemens will reciprocate Lamar Jackson week 1. Could be. And again, the key to me for this contest for Jet fans is the broken plays. When you have everything covered and Lamar Jackson can turn his cap backward and then make plays, it's demoralizing for a defense when you have everything covered and he still makes something out of nothing. So you're going to have to mind your P's and Q's. The defensive ends won't be able to, unless rare blitz concepts, won't be able to just go buck wild. They're going to have to play smart, kind of hold up the tackle to contain Lamar Jackson inside the pocket and try to prevent him. Try to play contain as your ends and keep him there. And that perhaps can help as well. I would also QB spy Ashton Davis, while not a great tackler, is super fast. And maybe you could just have a helmet on Lamar Jackson. So you're going to have to get creative with whoever the QB spy is, because CJ Mosley's too old. Quincy Williams maybe is that guy since he's a hard tackler, a really intense player, but he is very limited with what he can bring to the table. Perhaps he could be that guy. And then Quan plays your traditional two set there with CJ Mosley. So a lot of options certainly to consider. All right, let's keep looking here. Let's see. Keep it rolling here again. Feel free to drop any of your comments. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, as I'm kind of sifting through, because all the comments kind of blend together as hundreds of comments are pouring in here. If you want to guarantee your question gets answered here late night, now officially on Thursday, it's game day, NFL fans. Make sure you send a super chat. It's a nice little tip, monetary tip that allows us to do this show. So feel free to do that on YouTube super chat, and your question will light up a different color so I can see it 100%. So feel free to do that on YouTube to make sure, again, that your comment gets answered here on the show, and also help support our program to make all of this possible. So feel free to do that if you'd like. I'm going to try to just get to comments in general, but that guarantees that your question gets answered. Let's go to Camp here, who says 21-17 Jets. Flacco throws 2 touchdowns, 250 yards. Clemens assassinates Lamar Jackson. I mean, it would be great to see just putting a helmet on Lamar, who is a dangerous player. Old Dick Camp. All right, thank you for that. Let's see. Greg Long. This time is for the time is now for Robert Saleh's defense to step up. What happens when it gets shredded by Lamar? Why should he have a job if his defense stinks? I will say this. I'm not going to overreact. Well, I'm going to try not to overreact one way or another. If the Jets defense shuts down Lamar Jackson or they get sliced and diced, he's a former MVP. I don't think it's necessarily fair the first game of a brand new season with all these new pieces to say, Robert Saleh sucks, or Robert Saleh is a genius. I think that's kind of overreactionary to a singular game, but they have had months to prepare. Saleh and Ulbrich and those have kind of flexed that, saying, hey, we've been watching him, so we'll see what happens. Kind of almost like a little quiet confidence, arrogance there. And again, they're going to have to see kind of what happens there to see if it is possible for them to have an answer. Gohan, let's go. Gohan angered. Yeah, see, I know how to pronounce that. Unlike a Buffalo Jet fan. The most sus thing for me is the DC. He has to show up this year. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the leash is on Jeff Ulbrich, because again, Jeff Ulbrich is a Robert Saleh friend. Obviously, Robert Saleh has not called defense since being hired by the New York Jets. So I'm curious to see, because last year basically threw up his hands and said, oh, Jeff Ulbrich's my guy. He's going to lead us through this. And obviously he didn't. They finished 32nd in defense. Saleh can't throw his hands up for a second straight year and just go like, well, it was on Jeff Ulbrich, scapegoat. He gets fired. Like, that can't be it. At a certain point, whatever that point is for Robert Saleh, is to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, Jeff Ulbrich, you go, start picking up our laundry and coffee. I'll call the defense. That's my bread and butter. It'll be interesting to see when or if that point happens. Maybe it won't. Let's say, Paul Christensen. Yeah, this is an understatement. Lamar would be a good test for our defense. Would love to see Johnson and Clemens get their licks in. Jermaine Johnson's going to be the one. I wonder how many reps he gets. Clemens, the same thing. It's a very deep defensive line rotation, but that could be possible for sure. And we talked about this earlier, but NY Jets situation report, again, another great Jets content creator, which just dropped some merch. Very nice. Feel free to check them out. NY Jets situation report on social media. Again, reiterating the point that the news today, again, is not about Zach being out, but more so the hype and then the 3-week hiatus seemingly out of nowhere. That's the one that frustrates a lot of Jet fans. But again, if he's healthy and comes back in week 4, that would be phenomenal. Let's see. Dante, thank you so much. Love the stream, man. Again, streaming live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It's fun. And yeah, like I said, I came back from my live fantasy draft. I can't yeah, I mean, I guess okay, I'm gonna try to flip the camera. This may work terribly, but let's try to do this. Pull it off. There's the draft board, okay, from tonight. Let me yeah, this is great. This is great podcasting right here. Here is the big board from the night. So what I do is, folks, is I'm putting back the clip here. Sorry, as we're doing this live here on the show. Okay, there we are. So we did this live draft. And by the way, if any of you guys are fantasy football people, you've never done a live fantasy draft, You 100% have to. It's just a completely different experience than the online format that we're drafted on a Yahoo app, ESPN app, whatever. When you have a live draft, which of course you get food and beer and friends and of course just the picking in general. When someone makes a bad pick, they get roused and booed, and when they make a great pick, like you sniped me. Like, it's just great entertainment. So I gotta highly recommend it. We do a live fantasy draft every year at a local pub. That's part of my radio show sponsorships. And we do it with 12 people, and they're all part of my radio league. And then we have other leagues. It's really fun. So again, highly recommend. We just did our last one, and I love doing it all the way at the edge. Again, it's a lot of work. I had to input that entire draft board into the computer before we hopped on with the live stream, but it's a lot of fun because you, again, have the most healthy team possible. We're not drafting guys a month ago that end up getting injured during the preseason, which is pretty cool. So again, live fantasy draft. There you go. Give you a sneak peek at the not really man cave. I'm going to be honest with you. The Jets man cave is in the other corner, but you get the point. All righty. Let's see here. Boycott Activision. Okay. The only Jet I have a question about is LaFleur. Why doesn't this offense look like the 49ers? I think it's because we're always trailing in the injuries. And quite frankly, Kyle Shanahan is a offensive wizard. Now, I'm not saying Mike LaFleur isn't. We've seen spurts, but he had never called plays until last season. So, rain check back with me. It wasn't going to be magic immediately, but I have the most confidence in Mike LaFleur that I've had in any Jets offensive coordinator in recent memory. I think the guy's going to be good. Let's see. Let's keep it going here. Let's see. Gohan angered. I expect 7 to 9 wins this year. Anything less, a complete failed season. So hopefully we are in that conversation. That would be great. That would be great. I would love to see someone in that ballpark. I think you just got to win games. I'm sick of the excuses. Let's see. Let's go to this one. Gohan angered again. Got to have some positivity. I think part of the issue is I think too many have black clouds following them around and it just snowballs. That's very possible. And again, I claim to be, and I used to have this on my Twitter bio before I got so many jobs, that I claim to be the self-proclaimed most optimistic Jets fan on the planet. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. I bring energy, and I hope that resonates normally and not 12:30 at night with a baby sleeping in the other room. So I'm somewhat reserved on that. But again, in general sense, that we bring a lot of juice, and hopefully that razzes up the fans. And again, it should be exciting times, but we had to address this stuff from earlier, in my opinion. But we got a lot of positive. Again, feel free to check out the channel. We had 2 great interviews this week. Again, Antoine Staley, New York Daily News, and Kevin Ostreicher previewing the Jets-Ravens game. So we got some great videos on the channel. Feel free to check those out. Again, youtube.com/BoydGreen25. NY Jets situation report. How do you feel about Brown not practicing today? Not great, Bob. In short, again, because the options on the bench are not great. So hopefully it's just nothing, but it just doesn't look great. Okay. Sergeant Mike. Carl Lawson rushing on the edge, getting a strip sack will cure all these complaints, even if we get off to a slow start in the game. Remember, a defensive line rotation is meant to get better throughout the game. 100%. Again, I don't think there should be a lot of Debbie Downers here on everything that's been happening. Everyone should be excited, quite frankly. And Carl Lawson playing his first game and for the New York Jets, and also the great story by Connor Hughes. Tip of the cap, by the way, we'll have Connor Hughes. We're scheduled to have him on Monday, so keep an eye out for that, of SNY. That'll be the first interview we've had him on the show since his SNY transfer. But great story on Carl Lawson and his father battling through a lot of demons, COVID, and also I don't have the disease in front of me, but also battling a disease that really put him on essentially life support and had him fighting for his life. A really powerful story. Again, Connor Hughes, if you haven't checked it out on SNY.com or Connor Hughes' Twitter account. I'm looking forward to Carl Lawson. He's one of my favorite players on the team. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's go through some final comments. I'll try to get to as many of these as possible before we sign off. We've been on for almost an hour here, which is awesome. Okay, a lot of people arguing. Let's see. Any questions? Just naming some players, perhaps. ABT, Elijah Moore, MC1, MC2, Sherwood, Eccles. Yeah, a lot of fun players on this team. It should be exciting. Let's go to the Highland Prime. Flacco's buying time for Zach until he returns to me. Flacco's a non-issue here. We know Zach is the focus. Amen. And I can't wait to see it. I think he's going to do a really good job of Elijah Mooring, Corey Davising, and getting all these guys involved here, which should be good. Let's see. By the way, 2020 draft is a total disaster. So I'm looking for comments. I'll try to just throw in some commentary as I'm waiting for comments here. But I will say Michael P. Ryan getting dumped by the Philadelphia Eagles days after he was signed. Man, the 2020 draft class stinks. Braden Mann should be replaced too. We wrote an article about that last week, but just wanted to repeat that. Braden Mann, terrible. Jabari Zuniga, obviously now in Seattle on their practice squad. Ashton Davis still fighting hard, which we have to respect, obviously. But a lot of not good. A lot of not good there from that perspective. But hopefully... let's go to Victor Garcia. It seems like a Ravens fan here. The Ravens ain't losing to the Jets with Flacco. Even with the sus offensive line and no Dobbins, Raven defense will commit turnovers on Flacco, and Lamar can expose the Jets safeties with Andrews. I think the Jets are going to have a good plan for Andrews. Again, he is the best tight end in all football, in my opinion. So, there's no easy plan to stopping him or doing anything crazy from that perspective. I'd bracket coverage him. I'd move different guys on him to see what I could do. But no, the Ravens are favored and should be, quite frankly. They're a Super Bowl contender. But, Victor, I wouldn't be so sure. From my conversation on my YouTube channel with the Jets insider, or Ravens insider, rather, I asked him about how seriously Ravens fans are taking this, and most of them seem to be LOLing the Jets. So, with that perspective, I guess we'll see what happens. But, man, what a way. If the Jets win week 1 and then they go into a Cleveland game against Jacoby Brissett, I mean, a lot of us are going to be pretty hyped up, and for good reason. Michael Lando, a YouTube member, which, by the way, is another way to support the channel. Feel free to join the Boy Green Super Fan Club for a cup of coffee. You can show your support for the show on a monthly basis, just like Michael here, which we always appreciate. It's not who you play in the NFL, it's when you play them. Jets getting Ravens week 1 is best case. No question about it. So, obviously, from the injury perspective, the guys that were like on season-ending injuries, Lamar Jackson, Marcus Peters, Ronnie Stanley, J.K. Dobbins. There's like a million of them, of guys that have not played football in a significant amount of time. And none of those starters, by the way, played in the preseason very sparingly. So when you really add all that up, that helps. And then number 2, the fact of the matter is Lamar Jackson's Ravens offense is very unique. In a normal week-to-week basis, that's not a lot of time to try to evaluate an opponent, try to find out what makes them tick. The Jets have admitted that they've been looking at the Ravens concepts for months because obviously the schedule came out in May. So the fact of the matter is, I think this is a winnable game. I don't think there's going to be a blowout as some people believe it's going to be, but there's only one way to find out. Oh, yes, I love this comment. I liked how your buddy from The Wire asked Saleh how to play a physical team. Saleh said we're physical too. Let's play that clip. If you guys missed that one, I thought that was a fun. It's kind of gotten lost because of the Zach Wilson story, obviously. But that was one of my favorite clips from the Robert Saleh presser today. It's a quickie clip, but it made me go, okay, coach. Okay. Antoine Staley, who you're going to hear in this audio and video, you're going to be able to see the clip as well as I take you off the screen real quick, AC, so people can see this thing, is that he said, wow. And you'll hear the question, but man, this Ravens team is pretty physical. How do you plan on, combating that? Really cool answer here from Robert Saleh. Here's a quick clip.
The Baltimore Ravens are a very physical club. How do you match that intensity on Sunday?
We're physical too. That's how you match it.
And great answer. And then Robert Saleh turns to his PR guy over there and says, sorry, pal. I didn't mean to give a headline like that. But yeah, I mean, I like the fire from Robert Saleh saying, the question was legitimate from, Antoine, man, how do you plan to face that physicality? Okay, they're just not this incredibly tough team and that we suck. We're tough too, and we're going to show it. So I like, again, that quiet confidence more so than quiet in this particular situation. So that looked good. So yeah, I love that comment. Great point. Old Dave Etchenberry, that's a very good point. In fairness, Ulbrich was very limited regarding play calling because of the voided talent. He should look better with the roster. Not just the voided talent, the injuries as well, which I think are key. Like Carl Lawson was supposed to be the straw that stirs the drink for this team. Now, those excuses won't be available this year, but that is a key to pay attention to. Yes, Mighty Buffoon. I got sniped. Actually, I can look at the draft board and tell you. One in particular. So I was picking from the 3-hole 12-team league half-point PPR. I ended up with Dalvin Cook, 3rd overall. I was thinking Christian McCaffrey, but got sniped there, number 2 overall. And the second round, weirdly, we had a few weird things happen in the first round where players started to slip. Like Breece Hall, the Jets running back, went, what is that? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. He went 18th overall. A little rich for me, and I'm a Jets fan. So that one was a little rich for me, but all of a sudden the receivers started to slip. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, and I'm like, oh, baby, I'm going to get one of those guys. Unfortunately, boop, boop, I get sniped back-to-back on that. So my pick ended up having to be Javonte Williams, the Denver Broncos running back, who I think is going to be a superstar, by the way. But yeah, I got sniped there. Trying to think of other ones. Patrick Mahomes, got sniped on him in the 4th round. Just missed him. I was really thinking about hitting him up in the 5th. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. Those are the big ones, though. Got sniped on Devontae Adams. I really wanted him in Mahomes. So those in the mid rounds. Normally I wait on quarterback, and I did in this draft. Let's see. I ended up getting Tom Brady in the 9th round, and then I followed up with Kirk Cousins in the 13th. Now, no one wants Kirk Cousins. No one feels great about that, but I really believe in that Vikings offense with former Jets quarterback Kevin O'Connell running the ship. But Mighty Buffoon, yes, got sniped a handful of times. Like the team, though. Not too shabby. Okay, let's keep it going here. Okay, beautiful. NY Jet situation report. Thank you so much for the super chat. And again, for folks who have no idea what a super chat is, you see the comment is in a different color, and you see the monetary tip that NY Jet situation report threw into my little tin can as I'm dancing on the streets here, making moolah. And again, any amount is phenomenal, and it means the world. So thank you for that. And yes, I will be seeing NY Jet situation report, Buffalo Jet fan, Antoine Staley, Kerry Rhodes, and so many others. Lot J14 will be pregame tailgating from 9 to 12 ahead of the Jets-Ravens game. We're going to rally up some fans, talk football, pictures, babies, kissing, autographs, all that fun jazz. So I hope you guys could join us. So NY Jets situation report, the live draft is where it's at. And thank you so much for your contributions. Let's see. Who else do we got? Here's an interesting question. James Jameson. Love the alliteration. Who's going to be the fullback week 1? Ruckert? The weird thing is, like, Robert Saleh seemed to indicate that Ruckert is so behind in the playbook and with the foot injury that he won't be able to contribute in ways that people thought. Now, on college tape, it translates to fullback. So I would say that'd be a great way to utilize him. However, and you don't have Wesco anymore, which is also interesting. Lawrence Cager isn't playing that quasi role. So maybe they're just, because Nick Bodden, of course, their fullback's out for the season. But it's weird because they want to ground and pound a little bit. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think anything popped up on the depth chart. I think that piece of the equation was just empty. So I guess you're going to probably try to play with some 11 personnel, get some more wide receivers on the field potentially instead of those jumbo packages. You can also try to, 2 tight end it up. You got Conklin, you got Uzama now, and then you could try to mix in your other running backs. But you're also lesser there too because you cut Zonovan Knight. He ended up coming back on the practice squad. You have Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Ty Johnson. And while Breece Hall is the heaviest of them all, he's not going to be designed to just do short yardage and goal line situations. You'd rather have another back dedicated solely to that situational football. So it will be a little interesting. That's a good question. My gut would say Ruckert just because there's nobody else, but Robert Saleh seemed hesitant to commit from any big way here. Yes, that's another good one from Gohan Angered. We should get to Lamar. Their offensive line is sus. It absolutely is. Ronnie Stanley was getting back at practice this week for the first time in a long time. He's a great tackle when healthy. He hasn't been healthy. And if he plays, he hasn't played in a long time, so rust is a factor. If he doesn't play, that offensive line is looking super questionable for Baltimore, which could be a day for the defensive line to go off. However, I think I could speak for a lot of Jet fans here. There have been a lot of years of hype of defensive line play, and then they've fallen flat where they haven't delivered when it mattered most. So we need to see them deliver like Quinnen Williams and Carl Lawson, all these guys to really feel good about it, I think. Old Dave Etchenberg here. BG, I hope your wife and baby are doing well. Baby girl Green's first season about to take off. Yes, she's going to be at her first Jets game on Sunday. So Jets-Ravens, that's amazing. She was at her first fantasy draft earlier today. She was a real trooper fighting through that. Her father's the commissioner of this league, and a lot of work goes into it. So it's a pretty big league. But yeah, so she checked off the first fantasy draft, and we're going to be driving up on Saturday morning, early afternoonish. We picked up a hotel because we can't do the normal stuff, right? Like, 29-year-old Paul would just roll out of bed at 3 a.m, and I'm about 5 or 6 hours out from MetLife, and just say, "Hey, let's roll, baby." But I got a baby now, so I can't just be, lackadaisical college frat boy anymore. I got responsibilities and things. So I had to pick up a hotel the night before to give the baby kind of the full experience and make it better. And especially since we're doing the pregame tailgate and everything on Sunday. So, but thank you so much for the kind words. Yes, baby is getting thrown into the deep end, which is a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that. Mighty Buffoon. I expect a 5-12 season. I got to be realistic. Anything better would be a pleasant surprise. Here's the thing for me. Gun to my head, my initial prediction back in May when the schedule came out was 9-8. I said I could also see 8-9, somewhere in that ballpark. The talent's there. Quarterback play is really important. And health, of course, will be another factor all over the place. Remember, the Jets were absolutely maligned and destroyed with injuries last year, which really put them behind the 8 ball. So that was a big factor. Carl Lawson, Marcus May eventually. So many injuries befell every portion of their team. Mekhi Becton, obviously. Every portion of their team we will see. Again, to me, I want wins. I'm sick of just, the hope and saying, hey, wow, like let's just say the Jets schedule people say is incredibly tough in the first half for like Russell Wilson, Denver Broncos, Green Bay Packers, Bills, and all these teams, right, that are pretty good. I don't want this 1-8 start and then you have a great back half because you're playing teams like the Bears, Jaguars, Lions, blah, 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 at Seattle and so many others. Like I want them to step up to the plate and be a team. So I appreciate the realism to put it in your way, Mighty Buffoon. But you know what? I'm sick of the excuses. Well, this schedule's tough. Well, we're a young team. Figure it out, man. Figure it out. That's my take. So for me, I'm sick of the excuses. For me personally, I'm looking for 7, 8, 9 wins. And maybe some people say that's unrealistic and I roll at me. But for me, I'm sick of having this loser's mentality of, well, the AFC is really tough. Guess what? The AFC, there's always going to be excuses if you don't want to do something, right? Like you wake up in the morning, you're like, I should go for a jog. I don't know. I got this thing to do. Like if you want to go for a jog, you're going to go for the jog. If you want to win football games, you just got to win football games. Enough of the excuses. And they've had those for quite some time. As well. And Matt, that's what I'm saying. Excited to see our new 11 personnel. Yes, we have a lot of talent. Look at those wide receivers, man. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios. They have so much they can't put them all on the field. It's great. Okay. John Hepburn. Hey, Paul. What's popping? Wow, Mighty Buffoon. My Ravens buddy said this week is a bye week for them. They don't respect us at all. That's been the narrative I've gotten from Ravens fans, to be honest with you. They're completely overlooking the Jets, and if they steamroll them, obviously they're right. But I think, especially in a week one, because like the week one is a total mystery. There have been years where the Jets have done something crazy in week one and then it doesn't follow up. Remember a couple of years ago, they blew out the Bills like 48 to 20 or something. And their preseason offense sucked the entire time. So we thought, oh man, this is going to be a rough year. Then they have that burst. We're like, whoa. And then they suck the rest of the year. So, week one can always be crazy. John Hepburn. Yeah, this is the biggest problem from last season, in my opinion. If we come out on this is John Hepburn's comment. If we come out on fire, we have a chance. If we come out flat, I'll be depressed. The Jets can't be arrogant enough to think that they start slow in these first halves, which again have happened far too often last season. And then the second half go, ooh, let's come back. Like a great example is week one, Carolina. The Jets came out lackadaisical and they were just kind of moseying around. They get to halftime. They're like, wait a second, where are the Jets? And then they make it interesting in the second half, but obviously too late to do anything against a mediocre coaching staff. So, and the Ravens obviously are far from mediocre. They're on the other end of the spectrum. They're fantastic with Harbaugh and everybody. The defensive coordinator will be an interesting twist because, we don't know what he's going to bring to the table. Former Ravens disciple, but took a year off in college last year. So it's not Wink's style. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think that's a big key, John, is coming up to punch the Ravens in the mouth and go, they ask themselves, what the hell just happened? And then really get the Jets home crowd into it, which I will be there for. So hopefully we can get a lot of that. That would be a lot of fun for that perspective. Boycott Activision. I would love for the Ravens to sleep on us. We're the most mysterious team in the NFL. That's a really good way to put it. I haven't heard anyone say it quite that way, but you are right. I mean, the Jets are a total mystery on a lot of different levels. And I think the other part is that people just universally think the Jets suck. And again, until they prove otherwise, that's just going to be the narrative. So if they go out and beat a Ravens team by 1 or 100, it won't matter. That's going to get people to go, Either they're going to say, what a fluke, or they're going to go, wow, okay, maybe this Jets team is for real. And again, I think the NFL media world is starving for the Jets to be good. So instead of just making fun of them all the time, they could give them their proper due. At least that's kind of how I see it. Baltimore Ravens, Gunny, anything's possible. Hoping for a great injury-free game. Go Ravens. And I'll say be more. Thank you for dropping in. We've had other fans from other teams drop in. I imagine that's going to be a narrative moving forward as we kind of break it down on both sides. I am also hoping for a great injury-free game on both sides. So tip of the cap, virtual handshake. I do not like injuries, don't want injuries. The Jets have had them enough, but we will see. Okay. Vlad the Impaler. Okay. Lakin was a solid addition. Yes, he was. To me, a player that obviously earned a huge paycheck, 3 years, $40+ million, but a guy that continues to somehow go under the radar. What a key piece, a Pro Bowler scheme guy from the 49ers. The Jets thought so highly of him. They told their promising all-pro guard, AVT, to flip to the other side because we're bringing Lakin Tomlinson in, which I think is really cool. So yeah, Lakin's an exciting player. There's no question about it. Sorry, Huncho. I'm late. What was the thoughts of the Zach situation? I'll do a quick version of it again. If you guys want to listen, you guys can rewatch this stream. And I know we're having new and old people kind of jumping in, but kind of the quick version is simply this. I just think from a communication perspective, the Jets jerked around the fan base, and so did Robert Saleh, by hinting at optimism, and not optimism like he could be back in a couple weeks, like optimism he may play on Sunday, and then to turn around and tell us today at the press conference all of a sudden he's playing in week 4. Jet fans not understanding what happened when the coaching staff says there's been no setback with Zach Wilson, but here's the timeline. And then Robert Saleh getting kind of pissed off saying, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Well, I'm sorry, coach, that this is the New York media. The quarterback is having a situation. Media members are going to ask about it. So I thought he got a little flippant there, but it's neither here nor there. Long story short, I think Joe Flacco is a very capable quarterback. I just think the communication has been poor from Mekhi Becton last year, telling us one timeline, 6 to 8 weeks, and then out for the season. Zach Wilson, again, 2 to 4 weeks, and then now out for 2 months. Like, when you consider missing all of August and then potentially missing all of September, it's going to be like a 2-month injury. You're like, whoa, that's not what they said before. Again, those false expectations to me is on the Jets, and that's why they're to blame. But ultimately, again, we want Zach Wilson healthy. I think we speak for everybody there. So again, at the end of the day, they're doing the right thing. I just think they went about it the wrong way. That's probably the best way to say it. Okay. Go Jets by Terra Luna Classic. Yes. Jets. That should be, it's going to be a good one. I am looking forward to it. Nick H. I would be surprised by this. I'll be honest. I'm disappointed that Jermaine Johnson hasn't really done much. He might not even dress for week 1. I would be flabbergasted, quite frankly, if he doesn't start. I get the defensive line is deep. There's going to be 6 or 7 guys that are active. Everyone gets reps. They rotate. And again, it's just deep. And that was the nature of what we probably should have expected when he's drafted in the first place. You looked at the defensive line saying, where is he going to fit into the puzzle? If he didn't dress, I would be surprised. I don't think a team like the Jets has the luxury to healthy scratch a first-round pick. I just don't think that's a thing. I don't think that's going to happen from my perspective. Let's keep going. Oh, I see a super chat in here, which again skips the line. I'm seeing we have hundreds of comments here, and I'd love to get to them all, but let's go to Bang Mateo here. And again, feel free to YouTube super chat. Thank you, Bang, for contributing to the channel, contributing to the show. Again, we do live streams all the time. Again, guys, youtube.com/boygreen25 for all kinds of great content. If you super chat, you make a donation, of course, to the group, and it allows us to do more shows and a lot of great stuff. Let's get to the comment. What does Saleh do on the sidelines? He does not carry a play sheet nor call plays. I don't even see him coach players in real time. Really strange. Yes, Bang. What he does is he is the CEO. He mentioned that when he first came. And what does that mean? when he's a CEO. So obviously all the situational football decisions of challenges, timeouts, there's no who was even the guy? I can't even remember the Adam Gase guy. His name escapes me. Who was responsible for the challenges? The fat guy with who was shaven. Either the guy who followed him from Miami. He's hilarious. But yeah, like he was responsible for challenges. So all situational football, of course, Robert Saleh is there for. Now, calls aren't filtered in the same way that they were for Gase, where an offensive coordinator made a call and then it went to Adam Gase's headset and then he approved or disproved it and then it went to the quarterback. That was a discombobulated nightmare. But Saleh is involved. Like if Ulbricht's making a call in a key situation, Saleh will come over and talk to him. Kind of what was he thinking throughout the process? Not necessarily a hey, you got to check with me before you make any call, but kind of working from that perspective. I think a lot of Jet fans complain when we had the two head coaching where Greg Williams was coaching the defense as a quote unquote head coach and Adam Gase was coaching the offense. There was this line of separation between the two. Now Saleh being a CEO type, he could kind of overlook the entire operation, which I think, quite frankly, just helps out everybody. So no, he does not carry a play sheet. He does not call plays. Jeff Ulbrich calls plays for the defense and Michael Ford calls plays for the offense, but he is an overseer, a guy that's supposed to make sure it's a smooth operation from all perspectives. And again, that is a different world that quite frankly, we're not used to, obviously, with our recent head coaches, but that is kind of what he brings to the table. I know it appears strange on the television as you're watching and wondering publicly, what the heck is this guy doing? But those are, again, the overseer, the CEO, which is something we've been begging for a long time. Let me see if there's any final comments here. And again, any final super chats or any other comments that could jump out to me that we'll see, because we've gotten so many. And by the way, thank you, everybody. We have 120, 150 something people in here right now on a late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, because you guys are all crazy Jet fans, and I friggin' love you guys. It's phenomenal. And again, thanks to Bang Mateo once again for contributing to the stream. Guys, you're freaking fantastic. And I want to say this, that I see, and I saw there was a lot of you, and I try to bring up comments that either disagree or agree with me, because again, this is an open space, and I love talking to you guys, whether you agree with me or not. And I saw there were plenty of comments that thought I was an idiot and a crybaby and a whiner for even bringing this up. And guess what? I'm not mad at it. I got thick skin. Again, I do sports talk radio on a daily basis, but I'll simply tell you this, guys, that I love interacting with you guys, and it's always a lot of fun. So you know what? We can always have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we all come back to homeostasis here. Okay, we've got another super chat in it. Again, you guys feel free to do that. Again, it's a monetary tip in the cap. If you are watching on YouTube, you're able to do this and support the channel. So we keep getting these. We'll keep staying open here for a few more minutes before closing time. That song plays. But let's go to DJ Sin 6. Thank you so much, by the way, for the contribution with your YouTube super chat, my man. Always love it. Start Zach after 0-3 when healthy. Control the story, draft pick, and save your coach, or burn it down and draft your quarterback this year with most of the team. Here's the other thing, though, that some people have kind of mentioned as these conspiracy theories with this. The offensive line obviously has not had a lot of continuity, obviously, because Dwayne Brown came so late and they haven't got a lot of reps. Through these first handful of games, they're obviously only going to get better, like a fine wine. They will age with experience. That should certainly help. And then also that we're going to get past the rough part, quote unquote, of the schedule with all the AFC North teams. There's a lot of conspiracy people putting aluminum foil on the head saying, oh, wow, this is going to really work out for Zach Wilson. Lighter part of the schedule. Again, you can't bubble wrap a kid. He's going to play defense. He's going to play. So I push back on some of that narrative. Not that that's what you're saying, DJ, but just to some of the people that have thrown it out there. But yes, regardless of the record, if they're 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, Zach Wilson is the future of this team, and that's what this year is about. So they will. But again, so let's just play this out. So let's say Zach Wilson only misses the 3 weeks, and he's back for week 4, and then he's healthy throughout the rest of the season. Again, knock on wood for that. Let's just hope, of course, that that's the case. Is there enough of a sample size, and let's call it 14 games, to make a determination whether or not Zach Wilson is a guy? I think 14 games is a pretty large sample size if no more injuries happen. But they got to basically figure out if he's the guy, because if he doesn't, you finish with a terrible record, which, again, it's hard to imagine Zach Wilson playing well and you finishing with a terrible record. So if you finish with a terrible record, Zach Wilson had to have contributed to that in some way outside of injury. You're going to have a long conversation. What is a deep quarterback draft with guys like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson? There's so many really talented quarterbacks in this class. Are going to make you to think. Again, for me, we got to pray and hope that Zach Wilson can take full advantage of the talent around him. And again, Joe Douglas invested in Zach Wilson, of course, with the number 2 overall pick. But they do control the narrative from that perspective, DJ. That's a very smart comment from that perspective. Again, folks, we'll open it up here for another minute or so. Again, any final YouTube super chats or any final comments that come across here, we will answer before we get out of here. But I will say, as we're kind of wrapping up the show here, as we're heading into a Thursday morning, got to hit the sack so I can jump over to the radio show to preview the NFL day, which is going to be great. Again, if you guys would like to listen locally, the Score 1260 talking Jets, Giants, Bills, Syracuse, and all that fun stuff. So that's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to that. We'll also, guys, there will be no post-game stream immediately on Sunday because I'll be at the game, but we will have one of those as well. So, guys, make sure you like the video. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, of course, on YouTube. And make sure you show all your love for the channel. You guys are absolutely crazy, and I love it. Whether agreeing with me or disagreeing with me, you guys always make this special, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. For sure. We'll be back on the channel later this week. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I love the passion from you guys. Again, whether we agree or disagree, it's always a lot of fun. We'll be back here on the Heavy on Jets page here soon. Again, keep an eye out. Connor Hughes of SNY is supposed to join us coming up on Monday after the game. We'll talk about, of course, the latest of Zach Wilson, his great Carl Lawson story, and, of course, any questions you guys would like to submit for that chat with the one and only Connor J. Hughes. Everybody, have a good night. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. See you later, kids. Peace out.